I mean, you can't just take a legacy deck and expect it to win in Vintage, right? Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And today, Anubis has asked us to take Mono Red Stompy, Moon Stompy from Legacy, and just play it in Vintage with just a few substitutions. And we are doing a version without power, although we still can have a couple of pieces of broken artifact mana to our name. Now, I recently played one other Vintage League on the channel, which was a lot of fun, so we'll run it back today. And in that video, in talking about playing powerless in Vintage, you either need to take an established Vintage deck and try to replicate it without the power, or play something that does not want the power. And that is what we are doing here. We are just going to say, hey, I am going to play Null Rod as a lock piece. What are you going to do about it? And this is largely just a legacy deck with some vintage restrictions. Now, some of these cards are restricted that are not restricted in Legacy. We can play 4 Chalices and we can play 4 Urza's Sagas in Legacy. We don't get to do that here. Notably, we're not a one-ring deck for very, very obvious reasons, so we are leaving behind one of the more powerful aspects of the Legacy version of the deck to just be a deck that stomps. This is like old school Legacy Moon Stompy of a couple years ago, where it is just dudes with power and toughness turning sideways. So we are very low to the ground, we're not going up to things like Pyrogoyf, and we are hoping to just overload the raw amount of removal that vintage decks have. The sideboard has one spicy meatball, and that is Anarchy, which just destroys all white permanents. That's for our sort of hate bear style matchups. Otherwise, we have some artifact destruction that can get really gross with overload and a handful of pieces of graveyard hate and say no to ancestral cards. So let's try to shut off some lands, shut off some mana, have a grand old time. And if you find yourself wanting to buy into Vintage, or honestly any other format, Vintage is a little expensive, even on the budgetary versions, consider getting some cards from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're awesome. I love them. I buy my own personal cards from them. I keep saying this, but I really am going to put together a new mono red EDH deck. I just haven't found time to kind of place the order and finish building the deck. But I'm going to be using my own promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on my order when I get around to finishing it. All right, let's battle. All right, my opening hand only has 1 mana. That is not going to do it. What percentage of the time do I get another red mana here? Let's ballpark this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 3 more spirit guides, 15, but it might actually be 14 because I've got one of those in hand already. I think this is replaceable. Let's go to 5. Yes. Am I on the play or draw? I am on the play. I can YOLO Blood Moon on turn 1 here. You're definitely going back. I'm always keeping these 3 cards. I'm always keeping, I think, Blood Moon. And that's just a question, do I want to try to slam Blood Moon two turns in a row? I don't think, though. I think I want Rabblemaster on the second, well, maybe third turn. All right. I guess I don't know what proportion of the time Force of Negation is in the main deck of vintage decks right now. It's possible that Magus is harder to remove. So we're going to slam a Blood Moon here. And I will need to draw another land before I Rabblemaster if the Blood Moon resolves, as this is just going to get turned into a basic mountain. Alright, it sat on the stack for a while, but it did resolve. Now, Vintage is a format with Moxen, so it is possible that my opponent gets artifact mana that allows them to cast their spells through this Blood Moon. Hey! Stating the obvious, though, Black Lotus gives mana of 1 specific color. Ooh. So that can now get something like a Mox. Yeah, that's a disaster. I now understand why the Blood Moon stayed on the stack for so long. Alright, either my opponent has some crazy complicated line, or they're doing something else while playing this game. Trinisphere doesn't do anything interesting right now. Basic Mountain. An opponent passes the turn. So we're going to do draw go until I hit some more mana. They don't have anything else for their next turn either. I should probably take this to mean that they have controlling elements in their hand. Okay, there we go. Since I think they have controlling elements, I'm going to go ahead and use Trinisphere as a bait spell. Nope, they were just F6'd. Goblin Rabblemaster can then come down next turn and start pressuring Tezzeret. That's another land drop. 3 mana for a stock up. That's fine. I'm not sure if Shatterskull Smashing is a land or a spell. I think there's a good chance it's a spell. Back Tezzeret. Tezzeret down to 1 loyalty. Another basic mountain. Oh, it's Vivi. Fascinating. So let's go ahead and go to combat. Make a goblin. You can send 2 goblins at Tezzeret. Send Rabblemaster at face. Throw this to a 4-power creature. Opponent takes a bunch of damage. So I could pay 3 mana for this and then attempt to use it to remove Vivi on my next turn. I think I'm going to do that. So his opponent, some pseudo storm deck here. Are we expecting Breach? Thestral's great, obviously. And this is a way for my opponent to get a bunch of blue mana. Alright, 18. Now the Vivi mana is good only during their turn. There's another Mox. Vivi gets big. So I've got a Shatterskull Smashing for X equals 4. So if my opponent blocks with Rabblemaster, we can take out Vivi. 1 mana, 2 mana, 1, 4, 5. So blocking a token will be fine too. That'll still get Vivi. So make a friend. Send on in. Get big. Alright, so opponent just blocks a token. We'll take 7. Then we smashing on Vivi for 5. And finish off Vivi. Can't be Force of Willed or anything. Very glad opponent blocked. That made my life significantly easier. And we have a lethal adjacent damage. Something crazy is about to happen. Are you gonna PO? PO being paradoxical outcome. I'm gonna start looking up my opponent's deck while they do their thing. Are PO decks VV decks right now? No. A portable hole on a goblin token, because this is 2 or less. Yeah, this is probably some sort of Breach or PO deck. VV is not a standard vintage thing. And I'm not going to untap this here. Magus of the Moon. Take 1 damage from my stuff. Make a goblin. Send on in. Opponent is going to take 6 damage. Go to 3. Either one of these is probably lethal. Next turn, I'm just going to go ahead and play the Magus. Get my redundancy for Blood Moon. Chain of Vapor. Seems good. I don't want to copy that. Alright, it is a paradoxical outcome deck. So my opponent can redeploy those Moxen and use them to get some other colors of mana. And a new Mox. For my Legacy viewers, I guess I should hover over this card. This does not see much Legacy play. It is a really, really good draw engine alongside Moxen. You can Portable Hole a token. That's totally fine. So we'll PO once again. My opponent can redeploy all of this artifact mana. I'm not going to narrate that. So Vivi is now going to come down, and then each one of those turns into some damage. Okay, so my opponent is just going to attempt to kill me with direct VV damage. Seems good. So there's the artifact mana that we know about from before. My opponent has a ton of mana here, 11 cards in hand. There's a good chance that I do die here. There's a Tezzeret. I imagine there's Vault Key in this deck. Okay, not the Vault that I was expecting, but a Vault nevertheless. Mana Vault Tezzeret is kind of sweet. You tutor it up and you can use Tezzeret to then untap it. VV mana happens. There's a Merchant Scroll. A blue instant card, could be anything, even a PO. I can untap Vault, do it again. And I imagine this is now going to be lethal. So there's the PO. And then I'm going to fast forward a second. And after my opponent redeploys all that artifact mana, they combo me off. They do not have time to play another game at that speed, based on how quickly they are playing. Void Mirror seems reasonable. I might play Vandal Blast. Did not see Underworld Breach this game. I don't think I'm going to do this. Pithing Needle does stuff on Tezzeret Cruel Captain, for example. I think these are things that I'm going to think about. My Blood Moon effects are fine. They will buy time. I only get one Trinisphere. The Null Rods are pretty good. Broadside seems less important here. That's not going to remove a VV a lot of the time anyway. I will just go wide of VV with things like Goblin tokens. I don't know, maybe the game is slow enough that Fable isn't great, but Fable lets me loot for restricted cards. Okay, opening hand can Magus of the Moon on turn 1, and that's fine. I think that's all it is fine. I don't really have a follow-up threat afterwards if Urza's Saga isn't already ticked up. I think I'll mulligan this one. Yeah. I think it's a little weird, but I think it's a keep. I think I keep this and bin Vandal Blast. What land to play out on turn 1 is incredibly complicated. I think I need to cast Chalice of the Void first and see whether or not it resolves. Okay, it does just resolve. I think I want to strip mine my opponent before I get Urza's Saga ticking up. I think I'm going to go with Ancient Tomb immediately. I really wanted you to fetch so I could strip mine you. Nice. And the basic. That's fine. Nice. The red mana is incredible. Strip mine your basic. Pass turn. My opponent, I think, recognizing the fact that they fucked around with their clock too much, concedes this game. This game is in no capacity over. Now that I'm on the draw, I think I'm interested in Pyroblasts a lot more. I think I am in a I will win eventually mentality here when it comes to my sideboarding. Opening hand plays Trinisphere on turn 1. Seems fine. It is possible that if my opponent has a ton of fast mana that we could just get vintaged on turn 1. Sure. Alright, you know I got nothing, so I'll F6 now. An actual factual Sensei's Divining Top. City is kind of cool. So there's a mana vault. There's 3 mana for the Trinisphere. Trinisphere is in play. Opponent did not even respond with a Sensei's Divining Top there. I'll shut up if they just answer my Trinisphere on the next turn. Otherwise, that feels like a mistake. Yeah, they are now upkeep topping, making a land drop. They don't get to cast a spell right now. Not untapping that, obviously. Ancient Tomb. If I play Magus, it resolves immediately, but my opponent can fetch a basic blue source. I almost don't want to play Magus so that I can overload Vandal Blast later. I really wish I could play Urza's Saga and Vandal Blast this turn, but that doesn't work. I'd love to tick this up and then play Magus. I think I'm just doing this at the cost of 2 life. Taking out the Mox. Try to keep my Trinisphere good. Take out an artifact for PO purposes later. Then maybe sometimes my opponent doesn't fetch the basic island. They do this time. And fetch. But if I can keep my opponent using their mana to Sensei's Divining Top to try to hit lands, I might keep them from playing a first spell with Trinisphere. And I can't immediately answer something like a VV. Alright, third land drop does come down. Opponent passes the turn. Take a little damage here. I can put this into play while also doing Magus of the Moon most of the time. I think I am fine casting this. If opponent wants to interact with this, cool. I don't think they should. And then I'll play a Magus. Opponent tops. Basic Mountain comes down. I think I am fine to pay for this here. A Null Rod. Sure. Yeah. Opponent is at 14 and sub 5 minutes on clock as well. You have to re-tap the Mana Vault for the Null Rod. Alright, hits play. Opponent does not respond with a top activation as well. Chain of Vapor on the Trinisphere. I will not sacrifice a land. That does not produce mana. We're going to PO anyway, just draw some cards. I'll leave that tapped because it doesn't produce mana with Null Rod in play. Go to combat. Send in for 2. Opponent's at 12. I will attempt to stick Trinisphere again. Does get countered, pitching a PO. There's a key. There's a top. Opponent passes. I'll just take the damage here. Okay, sure. Go to punchies. Send in for 2. Which way does this go with the rules change? Does this go directly to graveyard if Magus is already in play, or does it still get the 1? I'm not going to look it up. It still gets the 1. All right. There's a Pithing Needle. Name Tezzeret, I guess. There's a Mox Opal. There's a Tinker. Time Vault doesn't matter here with Null Rod in play. Sphinx of the Steel Wind is pretty damn good. There's a Goblin Rabblemaster. Protection from red and green. Very bad for me. I will play this out second main phase. I don't know that I have outs to that. I'll get hit for 6. Go to 5. I know. Sundering Eruption. I can make my opponent not be able to block, but I'm not presenting lethal this turn. So they get to just crack me back for lethal. Well, that is disappointing, but that's vintage, baby. Sometimes you draw the tinker. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Okay, my opening hand here is not doing anything broken. We will mulligan it. This is just straight up an aggro hand. Just Ancient Tomb, Rabblemaster into Broadside. Probably into another Broadside after that. I'm going to keep this and get rid of this. Soul Ring into a Scary Magic the Gathering card. Ooh, I think I take a turn off to do that. Let's go ahead and play a Broken Restricted card and hope that that is useful. I'm in danger. Another city. Oof, that's the One Ring. Yeah. So, life's bad. I am at 9. I'm probably dead. There's a Mana Vault. There's a Broadside. There's a second Broadside. Send on in. These have Menace. Yeah, this is an attack for 0. Let's be clear. Broadside, target a Fleshraker. Throw a Mana Vault. Broadside, target the other one. Throw a Vexing Bauble. So, the worst of the problems, like, the one that is going to kill me the most immediately is out of play. The one that is going to kill me long-term is still in play. Yeah, we have seen this song and dance in Legacy before, and we know that it is bad news for me. So, this is a rip Vexing Bauble. Oof, a new One Ring. Pretty bad for me. Sapphire. Sensei's Top. Actual factual Nettle Cyst. Wowzers. I think at this point my opponent has got this. Like, the Nettle Cyst can just be moved if I kill the Germ token. So, like, I can kill this Germ this turn with 2 Broadside activations. But I think the damage is done here. You've got this one. Void Mirror seems fine. Vandal Blast is fine. Pithing Needle is fine. What's least essential here? I'm very torn between Fable being selection and Fable just being the slowest thing in the deck in Vintage. I think I'm going to get rid of Fable and just keep the Rabblmasters and Legion Warbosses that can come down ASAP and start clocking. I don't know if that's correct versus just I need more ways to find Null Rod. The Fables are definitely worse when I'm packing 4 of my own Null Rods to shut off the treasure tokens. So, like, starting on Fable isn't necessarily as reliable as it is in Legacy. I'm in for this. I have to figure out how to play it, but I'm in for it. I'd kind of prefer not to Null Rod immediately. Am I just doing Vexing Bauble on 1? Weird because of this. Yeah? I think I'm imprinting this. Throwing down the Vexing Bauble. That shuts off most of my opponent's artifact mana. And then I think I just play this as an ETB tapped land immediately, with the intention of not losing my City of Traders to natural land drops. And that's why I said it shut off most of my opponent's mana. Okay, cool. I'm going to get to Null Rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can do both. So 1, 2, and 3. There's the moon. 1 and 2. There's the Null Rod. So the good news here is I have 3 lock pieces in play. The bad news here is that I have 2 mana and no threat in play. So this is going to buy me a lot of time if my opponent just does not have land drops. Okay, cool. So as soon as I hit a mana source, I am good to go on broadside. There's a second land for my opponent. It doesn't lead into anything immediately, but I whiff on my own draw. That's a scary card for later. All right, I miss again. Yes. How big is that? 3/3. 3/3 is manageable. So, I think we go bam, combat, send it, hit for 2, and then so that this doesn't scale up, I think I just throw the Vexing Bauble. With the Null Rod in play, my opponent's 0-cost artifacts are less impactful. That's not to say that they do nothing, because cards like Glaring Fleshraker do exist. Cards like another Nettle Cyst do exist. You got it. It's big. Karn's almost good. When I can play a Karn, I can start chipping away at the size of the Nettle Cyst. So bam, go to combat, send in with both. Opponent will block here, and I will take that opportunity. Do I let that damage go through and then just throw Rabblemaster at the Nettle Cyst before that gets bigger and that doesn't work anymore? Yes, that's fine. Goodbye, Rabblemaster. I have shut off a lot of my opponent's deck. I think I just assume that I will draw another 3-drop creature before they draw another Nettle Cyst that's gonna gum up the board. Ooh-wee. That'll be real cool in a little while. Yeah. Opponent takes 2. I will go ahead and throw the Chrome Mox for 2 points of damage. This is not doing much for me in hand, and I've boarded out Fables, so I guess I'll play it. I don't know if my opponent can actually remove a Blood Moon. Valerian Academy. You have a Karn? Nope, just a concession. Sweet. Do I have anything else in the sideboard that kills a Nettle Cyst? No. I don't think we're interested in Crucible for, like, Crucible Strip Mine. I think that's too narrow. I think we're just running it back. I'm going to assume that this is fine. Hey, finally, there's a workshop. Patchwork Automaton. That's kind of annoying for my deck. So, scaling up to a 3/3 immediately. Oh, and we're, still going. I am currently debating whether or not I need to not strip mine workshop to keep up with the race against this thing. I think it's very possible that I need to strip mine Soul Ring, Spirit Guide, Warboss, and then be able to play another Warboss next turn to keep up with this. This is the line that means that I don't take Ancient Tomb damage immediately. So I think I am into this, despite the fact that this is, like, very much not what I want to be doing. Opponent takes the free block, and just straight up draws a card with top. They know that they have the mana to just recast that on the next turn. Just no worries. So that's 6/6 with the second artifact for turn. So there's a top activation. Sensei's Divining Top also sweet with keys, by the way, because you can tap to draw a card and then activate this ability in response. Shit. Vandal Blast might be the out. think I will take this hit, but we might be playing towards Vandal Blast. So take 3, play another Legion Warboss. Gonna make friends. Send in Mentor one of these up. Yeah, I forgot about that. Lose a Legion Warboss here. Alright. I wonder if strip mining Ancient Tomb is better than Workshop because of top specifically. Probably not with those there. So I don't think I win unless my top card is Vandal Blast. I think I end up chump blocking this one, taking a real amount of damage. Oh fuck, I forgot about bottom ability of Manifold Key. Bottom ability of Manifold Key, forcing me to take the 8 here is a disaster. We'll see if my opponent catches it. Okay, they don't. They can draw 2, replay a top. If I take the 8, then my Ancient Tombs, as well as these sorts of lands, are off for the next turn cycle. Opponent tops. Yes, I will happily block. Vandal Blast. F. These are now going to eat me alive. I think I am comfortable conceding there. My opponent's got that one. GG's. Okay. I don't think Vexing Bauble is that good. We'll mulligan this one. Hell yeah. Which one do I YOLO first? Probably Trinisphere? Probably Trinisphere. Yeah. And yeah. This is our Force of Will check moment. We succeed. So now, in theory, I have the ability to shut off lands and then shut off artifact mana. That's in theory. I'm going to go down to 2 mana once I play this Blood Moon effect, though. Given that, I'm going to stick this threat that I just top decked first before the Blood Moon. Goblin token, get in there. 19. No! 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 Okay, that's not the end of the world. I'm going to think about that while I attack. So make a friend, go to combat, send it, mentor onto one of these. This is 5 damage. This denies more mana immediately. The awkward thing is that this means that I can't Karn next turn, whereas if I do them in the other order, I can Karn. I'm gonna just hope that this is good enough. I was worried it was just going to be like a tinker, and like I would just lose for keeping the Mock Sapphire in play. Vintage is horrifying, man. Decks are good at winning. Underground Sea. Sure. Alright, did not hit the mana to cast Karn this turn. Make another friend. Send in. Trigger. Mentor on a different Goblin. Opponent goes to 7. I will play a Fable. My opponent's got a fair amount of mana. We'll see if they can do something broken here. Well, that buys a turn. I can always just play Karn this turn, though. That's the good news. Rabble. I'll loot Rabble. It feels like a pretty average draw right now. Shatter Skull Smashing. Sure. Make a friend. I need to attack with this and this to do everything that I want. Mentor onto an attacking Goblin. Make my treasure. Opponent takes 0 damage. Drop Karn. And that's good enough for the concession from my opponent. GG. Let's assume that this is fine, and these are fine. What about Pyroblast? No question mark? And again, I think I'm of the opinion that Fable is slow. I think. Not 100% sure on that. Vandal Blast is a powerful card. I have 4 mana towards an overloaded Vandal Blast. I have a Soul Ring, I have a Strip Mine. I think this hand is fine. Note that I technically have 5 mana towards a Vandal Blast, but I'm just kind of expecting that I use this very quickly. Opponent fetches. That's vintage, baby. Yeah, that's rough. Now strip mining my opponent with the 1 ring in play on turn 1 is not ideal. The Vandal Blast also doesn't answer that. So there's a good chance that this instead becomes set up to rabble into rabble while strip mining. Opponent's gonna go down a little life here. They've got so many cards. They've got 8 cards in hand. Mana Vault. That accelerates my opponent forward a lot. Yikes. So many cards. Like, untapping the One Ring is insane in Legacy, but it's just worse in Vintage because you have the Moxen as well. Ooh. It's on a braid on that Soul Ring. Disgusting. I think we're dead. So I think I go, yeah. That's a Force of Negation. Pitching Sphinx of the Steel Wind. We're gonna Vandal Blast this key just to take a legal game action. Keep my opponent from untapping either one of these. Yikes. I don't know that I should board in Pyroblasts here. Like, Tinker is a singleton. And it super sucks that they had it on turn 1. But it's mostly just Tinker. I care less about the 2-for-1 trades. There's a Volk. An opponent is passing the turn. I don't really know that strip mining matters. I don't know that Rabblemaster... Sorry, I don't know that Magus matters. I think the plan is Rabble into Rabble, and I'm just debating whether or not I'm strip mining. I think I'm going to just first see if this resolves. Alright, it does. I get 1 damage this turn. I get no damage this turn. And a braid. Rough. I'll take out a land. I am not keeping up with this One Ring. And my opponent presumably will win the game before this ring kills them. Or just find another ring that lets them remove all the counters from this. Other end of turn play. Oh, geez. Vamp Tutor feels super greedy. I mean, good card obviously is good, though. So, like, you know. Opponent untaps. Draws 6. So, mana not a bottleneck. Cards not a bottleneck. So, doesn't bode well for me. Oh, that's Time Vault. That's Time Vault plus Manifold Key. But gotta do something about the ring as well. Okay, there's the One Ring clearing that first one. Now my opponent just has infinite turns with Time Vault. I am comfortable conceding there. I can see the writing on the wall. I don't think my opponent is going to die to their Mana Vault there. GG. I think I am fine with my boarding plan, and I'm not going to Pyroblast for Tinker specifically. I think sometimes you have to say, like, okay, if you have it, you have it. That is a Void Mirror. I can't play it on turn 1. I think this is too fair. Let's mulligan this. How much do I get to do on turn 1? Ancient Tomb, Soul Ring, 3 mana, 4 mana with Spirit Guide. I think I'm keeping this and pitching my Soul Ring. It's really complicated what card you play first. Because, like, there's Force of Wills, Force of Negations, and Workshops to all consider. I think I'm getting rid of that. I think I'm going to Blood Moon as bait in hopes of actually resolving Null Rod. I think actually resolving Null Rod matters a lot. Alright, well, I resolved the Blood Moon. Hopefully that slows my opponent down. Tarn, Pearl, Pass. Well, there's the Null Rod. Alright, it does resolve. We've made my opponent's mana situation way worse. Now I just need to find a land and start rabbling. Okay, cool. Very happy to see that as a basic mountain. Unhappy to miss my next mana source. But that is what it is. Opponent hits another basic mountain. Passes. Alright, cool. Let us rabble. Do I get to go to combat, or am I going to eat an Abrade style card? I imagine that an Abrade needs to get pointed at this. I am getting to go to combat. Okay, it is an Abrade, but my opponent just gave me a Goblin token. I'll take it. Like, the Goblin tokens 100% matter right now. Land drop 4. That's a Time Vault. Doesn't do anything right now, but, you know, can get scary quickly. Let us attempt to rabble again. Make a friend. Send on in. 2 damage. If I hit another land drop, I will play Karn over Broadside. Okay, cool. We are now on the board with our unpowered deck. GG. I believe this is the player that we played last round. Welcome to the Vintage Queues. Sometimes there just aren't a lot of people there. Magic Online out there doing its best. This is okay. I mean, I've got a restricted card, and it's a good one. But I'm on the draw, so the impact of this is definitely lessened. I don't think this is going to be better than a Null Rod hand. Or a Karn the Great Creator hand. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to get rid of one of the moon effects. I don't know if I'm playing a Blood Moon on turn 1. Fuck. That's a good vintage hand. So if I now play Blood Moon on turn 1 to shut this off, I don't get to Karn on turn 2. So I think if I don't stop this, I will just 100% of the time lose to it. I'm going to imprint this in hopes of doing Blood Moon later and throw down a Fable here. Was really hoping to not see immediate One Ring on turn 1. Thalavi. Opponent's going to take some amount of damage from their own cards. For sure. Opponent just discarding to hand size. I always have 4 mana here already. I think I'm going to go ahead and fish finding Vexing Bauble to make this Karn uncounterable is a pretty big deal. Finding a Null Rod is a pretty big deal. I think I'm going to go bam, bam. Okay. I'll do this. Yeah. Now, opponent's got 7 cards in hand. I am not expecting this Karn to stick. I think I still have to cast it. I think giving my opponent another One Ring activation is devastating. They've got to have something in hand, right? Because they're not deploying cards. Yep. Pitching another Fluster. Now, next turn, I can Rabble and Magus of the Moon, but the damage might be done next turn, honestly. Opponent has 9 cards in hand. There is a decent amount of self-damage here between Ring, Fetch, and Mana Crypt, but I am not hopeful. That's a Time Walk. That's scary. Maybe scary for both of us. Mana Crypt and One Ring can be a lot of damage. Down to 7, down to 4. One Ring draws 4 cards. There's a lot of cards in hand. I have every bit of faith that my opponent will just be able to play another One Ring. I think the question is whether or not they can get both Mana Crypt and the One Ring out of play before dying to them. That's actually a real concern. Alright, one problem solved. Scalding Tarn, down to 3. What is that? Prismari Command. So dealing 2 damage to my creature and then destroying their own mana rock so it doesn't kill them. That means that I don't get to do 2 of my cards at the same time here. I think I Magus this turn. So yeah, there's a Force of Will. My goal is to now resolve a Goblin Rabblemaster and make a copy of it with Reflection of Kiki Jiki. That's where I want this to go. Opponent's doing it. So after they take 1 to the One Ring, Force of Will is not live anymore. Opponent has to answer my Reflection or die. Then they have to answer the One Ring or die. They've got a lot of cards, though. That's a stock up. Soul Ring. Drawing more cards. We're drawing more cards. Another One Ring is live. Hey, that's a good steal for us. The self-damage that my opponent did was so much that even though I didn't deal very much damage to my opponent, I think I only hit with Magus of the Moon like twice or something like that. We were able to take this one. Greatness at any cost. GG's. I think it's a big deal that we won that one because I can have a game 3 where I'm on the play. So you, and Fables out has been what I've been doing. I can think about these Pyroblasts again. I am worried about boarding too low on threats if I do something like -3 Broadside for +3 Pyroblasts. Like, at some point, you do just have to reduce your opponent's life total to 0. And there's no guarantee that I have Pyroblast up at the right time for a Tinker specifically, which is a singleton. Let's try it. If nothing else, to just gather some data. I think there's a very good chance that I just get vintaged the game that I'm on the draw. Yes. We've got a Mox, a land, fetching, Demonic Tutor. You've got it. Did that just get a Force of Will? Did that get a One Ring? Did that get a Tinker? I think there's a good chance it got a Tinker. Tinker for Sphinx just beats me. Let's try to shut off my opponent's blue source. This is Abradable. This is Force of Negationable, so there's downsides to both. Let's Moon. In play. Fuck! This exists. It is the Tinker. Yeah. So I just don't beat that, and that's pro red as well. So can't Pyroblast it out of play or anything. Yep. We even tried to play around that. The Singleton Island there was brutal. I don't think Grafdigger's Cage actually does anything here. Like, it stops the Sphinx from coming into play, but my opponent can just get another broken artifact. This seems like it will be fine. I have to play Chrome Mox first. I think I'm going to put you under there. Then drop the Chalice on 0. Alright, it does resolve. I can then, I think, play this tapped and pass. That can get the basic island. And does. Yep. Artifact mana that gets around Chalice of the Void, unfortunately. This is now a little weird. I think I take the time to do this. Opponent does Force of Will. That means that this matters. I think I'm going to go ahead and counter. And if they have Tinker yet again, they have Tinker yet again. This shuts off future counter spells as well. Alright, cool. Nothing broken immediately. Mana, not a bottleneck here. They just don't have anything to cast, so let's Rabble rather than Blood Moon. Get the clock going. I'm very worried right now. Like, I know on paper it looks like I'm winning. I don't feel like I'm winning. I don't have a hard no to the One Ring as of right now. So I think once my opponent starts doing something broken, they're going to pull ahead just so quickly. That's the Tinker. Yeah. We don't beat that card. We've already established this. I'm not in range to just immediately Sundering Eruption or anything. I'll, I guess, take a redraw. Yeah. I will concede to that. We just lose to Tinker. GG's. All right. 11 minutes of queue time, but we found a match. Round 5. Opening hand has reasonable cards, but no fast mana. I think I just mulligan it. Yes. Definite keep. Get rid of Chrome Mox. I think this is pretty close. We're not playing against much of a variety of stuff in Vintage right now. We kind of keep hitting the same matchup. But there are a bunch of broken lands in Vintage. You know, we haven't run into much Bazaar today, but this should, in theory, have a bunch of utility. And it sticks. We've got a Chrome Mox. All right, so we're going to be playing against a Hate Bears deck. There's an Archon. So that means that my Strip Mine enters tapped. I think with 2 pieces of artifact mana there, this is worth using my Spirit Guide for. And then I hope that I draw out of this mana situation before they do. There's a Cavern. Opponent is staying the aggressor by attacking with that Archon and playing a Voidmere. That's fine. I don't think they are the aggressor there. I don't think that was a good attack. I think their creatures are ultimately going to be bigger than mine. They just need to drag the game on. Yeah, so now they're not attacking. I'll go to combat, send in with just these. And I'm only dealing 1 point of damage per turn cycle here. It's not impressive. It can ramp up a bit later. Between Voidmere, Null Rod, and Blood Moon, it is a little hard for my opponent to cast spells. I don't know how many basic planes they're going to have. They're going to have at least a couple because they are a deck with initiative creatures. Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. As soon as they hit these larger creatures, as long as they survive to them, their creatures outpace mine. So I can play a mountain. I make a thing. I don't think contesting the initiative is wise. I can take it. I lose Warboss and Magus. Don't think that's worth it. Yeah. Anyway, this is why there's a couple copies of these in the sideboard. All right, opponent is full sending it. Another Seasoned Dungeoneer is coming. Fuck. Yeah. Down to 8. Another basic planes. I get trapped immediately. I'm down to 3. I can't take my opponent from 16 to 0 in one go. Opponent says, good draw. Absolutely agreed. That'll do. My red removal as a whole is not good at answering these creatures. Anarchy can get in here. The Blood Moon effects aren't that strong. My opponent, again, has a bunch of basics. Crucible's not great. Void Mirror can slow down fast mana. I can think about that, but like my opponent played their own Void Mirror, so that should be very telling of like how much they care about that card. I think I'm going to get rid of Karn. I think that's slow for shutting off mana in comparison to like Chalice, Null Rod, Vexing Bauble, Trinisphere. I think that extra mana bump matters too much. And I might still just keep the Blood Moons in hopes of cheesing a game with it here and there. I think my opponent is likely to have better creatures and better removal than my deck. Not having something like Fury here that can remove creatures cleanly is a really big deal. So this plays a Chalice into a threat. It's okay. Hopefully okay is good enough. Not getting any freebies with something like a Black Lotus matters a lot. So there's our Chalice of the Void for opposing artifact mana. And then we'll do an ETB tapped land. Opponent is shocking. So presumably some Swords to Plowshares style card is coming. That's just what makes sense. I think I just play around that. So let's try to shut off my opponent's mana in the short term. Does mean that I can't cast a threat immediately. Hopefully that's fine. Opponent does not accomplish anything by shocking themselves. That's the good news here. So now I'm just going to cycle this and try to hit a land drop, honestly. I do not succeed. Does opponent have a basic plains? They have a Chrome Mox that gets countered. That was going to the graveyard anyway. Okay, so there's a Soul Ring, and now I get to Rabble. Dismember. Okay, so it's a Dismember, not a Swords to Plowshares. Wrong read on my end. So let's Rabble and send in for 1. With a broadside coming, this is a lot of oomph. There's another basic mountain and a concession. Problem is there's now a game where I'm on the draw and all of my lock pieces don't have a chance to stop opposing artifact mana on turn 1. That's a weird looking hand. I think a threat-based hand is better on the draw than a lock piece-based hand. Again, my opponent can jam an Archon or a initiative creature or whatever on turn 1. Against Archon specifically, I can play Urza Saga tapped on turn 1, Chrome Mox, Blood Moon under it. But then I don't make the Construct token the next turn. I don't think this cuts it. I've got the broken mana here. The broken mana Null Rod combo isn't great. Magus is not great, especially on the draw. I don't think this is what I'm looking for, despite the objective power level of this hand. I'm going to go to 5. On 5, I'm probably keeping. Probably getting rid of City of Traders. And I think this becomes an Urza Saga Fable of the Mirrorbreaker hand, and I don't try to lock my opponent's mana out. Oh, excuse me, I think I caught that sneeze, so it's not on mic. Yeah, so I can go Urza Saga, Mana Vault, Pitch Spirit Guide, Fable, and then try to do some amount of this nonsense. Chrome Mox? Is that Clarion Conqueror? That is Clarion Conqueror, sure. And Vexing Bauble. Okay. So, bam, bam, and bam. Urza Saga ticks up. Attacking with my Goblin Shaman is awkward. Archon? It's Archon. I'll take some damage from Mana Vault. That's a Blood Moon. It is very bad right now. My opponent has an Urza Saga at 2. I think I'm going to loot and try to high roll here. Did not really high roll. This bricking my mana is a big deal via the treasure token. Did not high roll into an Ancient Tomb or City of Traders that could just activate this. So I think everything's bad. And I Null Rod to stop this, and whatever is coming here. This means that a Construct token doesn't come out of this Urza Saga. And that something like Black Lotus doesn't come down and slap me around. But this means that my own mana situation is pretty terrible if I don't find an Ancient Tomb. If I find an Ancient Tomb, I'm so good. Okay, yeah, so there's the Black Lotus that I was a little worried about. Fuck! Now I lose Mountain. I will have 0 lands left in play soon. What a disaster. Ooh, opponent did not strip mine me. I'm so happy about that. My draw is bad, unfortunately. I'll float a mana. I don't... My opponent gave up. I think I was losing that game. I think I was losing that game, and it's not close. I think Strip Mine on Mountain locks me out from having any mana sources, and my opponent wins eventually. We'll take it, I guess, but that feels pretty bad. All right, let's wrap this one up here. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I definitely played Vintage today, but this did not feel nearly as powerful as the mono black deck that I tried a week or so ago. Not having Black Lotus to be able to just Black Lotus into one of these things immediately is a really big deal. As far as budget options go, like, this is fine if you just need to register for a Legacy event and you already own, a Vintage event and you already own Legacy Moon Stompy. This is not embarrassing to play, but this did not feel nearly as good as the other deck that I tried. I will say we got mised by Tinker and the basic island for said Tinker a bunch of times today. So I don't think things lined up as well as they possibly could. But, like, the play-draw difference with this deck was just astounding. So that was a good way to spend the afternoon, but I don't think I would pursue this seriously in Vintage. With that, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a day there. I hope you all enjoyed. Consider leaving me a like or a comment on the way out. Helps a lot on the Vintage content, which doesn't tend to do as well on my channel. If you want to see more, help the analytics out. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!